Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Oh, a lot of things are going on. We've got this Russia, China, Ukraine, Taiwan. The United States just seems to want to get involved in that. Um, and you could make a lot of connections to end time prophecies on it, but I'm pretty sure that the Biden administration, they need a boost in the polls, and they need some distractions from a failing and crumbling narrative. So what better way to do that than to start a world war? I believe it was this morning or yesterday, they released information on their predictions of how this is going to happen. Their predictions of how it's going to be when Russia invades Ukraine, and how fast they'll be able to make it to the capital city, and how long the capital city will be able to withstand the onslaught and fall, and how fast they'll capture the president of Ukraine. I mean, they're really getting into the nitty gritty. And over the last week, Russia and China met, and we'll want to talk about that here in a little bit and a few other things. But first, I want to mention to you that there is a preparedness meeting being held today, January 6th at 2 p.m. this afternoon in Coal Creek, Michigan. If you are in that area and you'd like to attend, there's an email popping up below. Shoot an email to this guy so that you can get the details on that there in Coal Creek, Michigan. There's a lot of these meetings starting to pop up all over the country. People are trying to come together and build some tribe and community, and forming mags and other things like that. So just trying to get this information out to you as I receive it. So the whole trucker thing, that's still going on. And this is just a, public safety announcement. For those of you that aren't quite aware, which you should be if you don't know this, I don't know what to tell you, that truckers are a vital asset to a nation's infrastructure. And that's why that's happening is so important. This little graphic here was made a few years ago, but it's pretty accurate, and it talks about how fast things will collapse if truckers stop running. Within the first 72 hours, really, once they stop, things are going to start running out. Hospitals are running out of supplies, gas stations are running out of fuel, grocery stores are running out. Most any town, community, city, if they get cut off from the outside world, they have about 3 days food supply within that city. So if the trucks stop delivering to the stores, it doesn't take very long for those stores to get completely empty. As it goes through, there'll be more and more shortages, and then you get down to about 3 or 4 week mark, and the nation's water supply, clean water supply, is pretty much depleted because trucks deliver the fuel and they deliver the chemicals needed to treat the nation's water supply. And so it would not take very long. Now, this graphic is assuming that pretty much all trucks stop. And as it stands right now, that's not happened yet. But even just a percentage of them, 10, 20, 30% of them stopping is going to create a lot of havoc on the supply chain. So folks, get ready. On to the whole Russia-China thing. Just this past week, China is hosting the Olympics. You all know that. I'm not watching it. Probably most of you aren't. But they met together. Putin and Xi Jinping met together, and they basically strengthened their alliance by stating that they will stand next to each other no matter what in political affairs. When it comes to Ukraine, China is completely backing Russia in Ukraine, and when it comes to Taiwan, Russia is completely backing China in Taiwan. Basically, they just said that they had an unconditional love for each other, and that no matter what, they were going to stand next to each other. This is some pretty significant saber rattling. When you put these two together, you have an extremely powerful and large force, politically, economically, and militarily. And it's not such a surprise that they're allies. They've been allies for a long time, but coming out now and making this very forceful statement that they're standing next to each other no matter what happens, is pretty significant. You've got the Biden administration continually trying to, drum up a war between us and them. They've been predicting of Russia, issuing a false flag, releasing video evidence of a false flag attack so that Russia would have the excuse to say that, well, now we can go to war against Ukraine. And then, of course, America would get involved in that, and somehow. There's a lot of this going on, and I think it's something that we should certainly pay attention to. The possibility of a global war between the world's biggest superpowers, all nuclear capable, and or at least a lot of nuclear capability between all of these countries involved, is a big deal. Over the weekend, Biden lifted most of the sanctions on Iran, their nuclear sanctions on developing nuclear technology for energy production. He lifted most of those sanctions. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, folks, and it's like watching prophetic things just happen right before our eyes. And so I hope that a lot of you are kind of waking up to this. Shifting gears just a little bit, but to me, it's all connected. I see the connections in all of it. I want to show you this video of a guy. It's an interview with this guy, and he is a former top executive with BlackRock. Now, I know a lot of you know what BlackRock is, and I know a lot of you know the very significance in BlackRock. I mean, they virtually own the planet. Them with Vanguard and a couple of others. They own about everything, okay? And listen at this guy. This guy, I think his name is Edward Dowd. I can't remember if I probably butchered his name. But anyways, he's talking about the financial bubble, global economic bubble. Not just America, but global. And he's saying that it's coming to an end. It's at its end of days, and it's going to collapse. And that this whole health crisis stuff was just done as a ruse to get people conditioned for a lockdown when that happens. Listen to this video here.
And it's becoming apparent, given what's going on across the globe, that we're at the end. And due to that fact, we're going to see lots of crazy things in the financial markets. I think we're going to see the credit markets become unhinged, the equity markets become unhinged. The Fed got a reprieve from COVID when they were able to, at the cover of COVID, print 65% more money to keep this thing afloat. But we're at the end days here, and a lot of what you're seeing in the response from global governments is what I believe is setting up a system to under the guise of medical tyranny, to prevent the riots that are going to ensue once this thing all unwinds.
I mean, I know you could say, well, this is just one guy's opinion. That's true, just his opinion. But when the person's opinion is coming from someone that most definitely has knowledge that you and I can't even imagine having. This guy probably is privy to intel and information that the president of the United States isn't even privy to. When you're at a level of what this man was at, top executive of BlackRock. And he's out here talking about this. And if I say stuff like this, or many others like me, oh, we're crazies. We're crazy conspiracy theorists because we're talking about the collapse of our society and the collapse of our economy and everything. And here this guy is. There's not too many more people on the ladder going up that would be more in the know than this guy, and he's out here saying it too. Folks, this is all very serious. When we've got economic troubles, not here in America, but on a global level. The Western world, when I talk about collapse on here, when I talk about civilization collapse, societal collapse, I'm not really talking about the United States. I mean, for most of you, because most of my listeners are in the U.S., that's what directly affects you. But what is really happening here? We're watching the Western world collapse. We're watching and the West is collapsing, and the opposing forces to that is China and Russia. And if you look at how they're posturing themselves, they're not just showing themselves as the military strength, as the economic strength in all of this, but they're also showing themselves as the moral foundation in all of this. There's been lots of things that's happened over the last couple of years, few years between Russia and China, that they are posturing themselves as the moral leader on the planet, as opposed to the United States and the West. They have passed certain laws and regulations in their countries, making that anything that has to do with boys or men has to portray men as masculine, and that there has to be a division in that. I saw this the other day that Russia has put a ban or blocked certain pornography websites in their country. They're trying to stage themselves as the superior countries, the superior side in all of this, financial, political, militarily, and even morally. We are watching divisions happen, and I think it's because they know that the West is crumbling. That's why China has been bulking up and prepping like never before, or any country ever before, on all kinds of foods and commodities and precious metals and industrial metals for the last few years. I mean, they are the world leader. They hold most of the world's food in China. And they're doing this because they know that there is a collapse coming. They know this is happening. And at this point, there's probably not a lot to stop it. So the only thing that you can do is just continually get ready. Get yourself in a position that you're self-sufficient. It's not just about buying food and stacking it to the rafters. That's important. Certainly keep doing that every chance you get. But the biggest thing that you need to do is to get yourself in a position where you're as self-sufficient as possible. Things are changing around us, folks. It could happen in weeks, months, years, but it is happening. And the more you get prepared, the more you pass that knowledge on to your children, the less you're going to be so dependent on the system that you will fall when they fall. So continually to prepare yourselves. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.